We have all been there. You step out for a quick summer walk, and suddenly your dog is lifting their paws, essentially doing a painful little dance on the scorching asphalt. I felt terrible when it happened to us. Finding dog shoes that actually stay on and protect their paws from the heat is a total nightmare. Most of them either slide right off or trap way too much heat. Well, I tested a bunch, and I finally found what actually works. Here is the definitive countdown to the single best pair. Luckypaw Dog Shoes. I picked these up because they market themselves heavily as breathable paw protectors specifically meant for hot floors and summer pavements. You know, when you first take them out of the bag, they feel surprisingly lightweight. The mesh fabric on top immediately gave me the impression that my dog's feet would actually get some airflow, which is a big deal when the sun is absolutely beating down on the concrete. Putting them on is a fairly straightforward process. They use a wide split seam opening that makes it much easier to slide a paw inside, even if your dog is doing that annoying little pull-away move they all do. Once the paw is in there, you secure it using 2 reflective hook and loop straps. It feels secure at first. The straps definitely give you the illusion that these things are locked in for the long haul. When we hit the actual pavement, the rubber sole did its job. The bottom is quite thick and anti-slip. I touched the ground and it was hot enough to fry an egg, but my dog walked over it without showing any signs of discomfort. The sole is definitely thick enough to block that intense thermal transfer from the asphalt. That part is great. But here is what matters and why these are sitting at the bottom of the list. After about 10 minutes of brisk walking, the front boots started to twist around. Spark Paws Dog Shoes. Spark Paws is a brand that has been getting a lot of attention lately, so I was really eager to see how their anti-slip pavement boots held up in real-life conditions. Right out of the box, these definitely look a bit more premium. The design is sleek and the reflective strips are nicely integrated into the overall look rather than just slapped on as an afterthought. The material feels durable to the touch. They use a slightly more rigid fabric structure than the Luckypaws ones, which means they actually hold their shape when you're trying to wrangle your dog into them. You know, that rigid structure really helps guide the paw right into the toe box. The fastening system uses dual straps again, which is pretty standard, but the straps on the Spark Paws feel a bit more heavy-duty and grip a little tighter. Out on the scorching afternoon sidewalk, the heat protection is undeniable. The rubber on the bottom feels incredibly solid, maybe even a bit too solid. They definitely keep the heat away from those sensitive paw pads. We did a full 20-minute loop around the neighborhood, and not once did I notice any heat-related hesitation or that dreaded paw-lifting dance. However, let me tell you where the Spark Paws stumble. Because the sole and the shoe overall are so rigid, the dog loses a lot of their natural foot dexterity. I mean, watching my dog try to walk in these for the first few days was like watching someone walk in ski boots. 3. Petanims Dog Shoes. These are marketed as both winter and summer pavement protectors, which usually makes me skeptical. A shoe that claims to do everything often does nothing well. But, well, the Petanims actually surprised me. They strike a really interesting balance between flexibility and protection that the previous 2 shoes completely missed. When you handle these, the very first thing you notice is how soft the upper material is. It feels almost like a thick, high-quality sock rather than a stiff boot. Putting them on is a breeze. Because they are so pliable, you can just roll them right onto the paw and cinch them up with the Velcro straps. Your dog actually feels the ground a bit more through the sides of the shoe, which really helps them adjust to wearing them much faster. Now let us talk about the heat test. The soles are made of a rugged anti-slip rubber that is just thick enough to block the heat of the asphalt, but thin enough to allow for natural movement. We took these out on a 90-degree day where the concrete was absolutely baking. My dog pranced right along, completely unfazed by the temperature. The grip is also fantastic, providing great traction even if you transition from hot concrete to smooth indoor tiles. What I really appreciate about the Petanims is the interior lining. It is smooth and doesn't have any of those harsh, scratchy seams that cause blisters. 2. PawPosh waterproof sandals for hot pavement. Yes, you heard that right. Sandals for dogs. When I first saw the concept of a perforated, breathable summer shoe for dogs, I thought it was just a gimmick. You know, one of those things that looks cute on the internet but completely fails in the real world. I was dead wrong. These are genuinely fantastic for brutal summer heat. The standout feature here is obviously the design. Instead of fully enclosing the foot in fabric, the PawPosh shoes have these strategic perforations all over the upper section. It literally looks like a tiny pair of breathable water shoes. This means that as your dog walks, air is constantly circulating through the shoe. I mean, dogs release heat through their paws, so trapping them in thick boots during summer always felt counterintuitive. This breathable design completely solves that problem. Let me explain how they handle the actual pavement. The sole is made from a highly durable, heat-resistant rubber that completely insulates the paw pad from the ground, so you're getting maximum thermal protection on the bottom while the top of the foot remains cool and ventilated. We tested these on the absolute hottest days of August, and my dog's feet were not only safe from burns, but they were not swimming in sweat when I finally took the shoes off. They're also remarkably easy to secure. They use a wraparound strap design that genuinely locks the heel in place. Teozzo Dog Shoes for hot pavement. If you want the absolute pinnacle of paw protection, comfort, and reliability, this is it. I bought these fully expecting them to be just another generic paw protector, but they blew every single other option completely out of the water. They are the total package. Let us talk about the construction. The Teozzo shoes use a tightly woven, highly breathable mesh upper that somehow manages to be both incredibly durable and exceptionally soft. You know, it is rare to find a material that can withstand scraping against concrete without being stiff as a board, but they pulled it off. The dual strap system is positioned perfectly. One strap secures the actual paw, while the higher strap locks in right above the joint, completely preventing the shoe from slipping off. The performance on hot pavement is absolutely flawless. The rubber sole extends slightly up the sides and over the toe box, providing a little bumper of protection. I mean, this is genius because dogs drag their toes sometimes. We walked on black asphalt in the middle of a heat wave, and these shoes acted like a total force field. My dog was entirely comfortable, striding confidently without any heat penetration whatsoever. But here's what really sets the Teozzo apart from everything else. The interior ergonomics are perfect. When you put your hand inside, you can feel that it is shaped to actually accommodate the natural spread of a dog's toes when they bear weight. Outro. That's all for today.